Good evening, Canada. We are back with a brand new episode of Voice of Canada. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my charming co-host, Richa, sareen. And we have got a very interesting speaker tonight. This Ward 1 Councillor, Stephen Dasko, from city of Mississauga. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Come on, Richa.
Welcome, sir. Mr. Dasko, in the recent mayoral election to elect the mayor of Mississauga, it was a tight race, four-way race, right? Could you please give us a little bit glimpse of
Full
that?
brief of it.
Sure. Yes, it was a very tight four-way race, and we had it where the undecideds, even going into the polls, were very, very high.
Right.
Very unusual. We haven't seen anything like this in Mississauga in our history.
51% turnout.
Yes.
From 22 to 51, that means that people have become conscious.
We have higher turnout, but it was just a different election because there were some elections when Hazel McCallion was our mayor where she didn't even campaign.
Yeah,
And
I
so
remember.
there was just
Two campaigns I have seen.
Yes.
We never saw her one. She never addressed anything. She never went anywhere. Asking for votes even.
Yeah, and so that never, really came into anything. And then the only real election in recent history that we had was when Bonnie Crombie ran against Steve Mahoney, and that was neck and neck. And at that time, it was Hazel McCallion that determined the fate of that election.
Yeah, because she had endorsed Bonnie Crombie.
Correct. Yes. So
see, the
it was an
endorsement makes a
interesting one.
difference.
Sometimes it can. Yes, sometimes it can.
Okay, as the race was very tight, Mr. Dasko, so we were very, very tense till the end. Because since 1 month, your polls were slipping, and Caroline Parish polls also slipped from 37 and come back to near 1% next to Deepika.
That's correct.
Deepika or 1 week was always
People
there.
weren't quite sure how it was going to break, and none of us knew how it was going to break.
How it was
just
going to
be that
break,
way.
but the turnout was very interesting. Anyhow, this is a by-election. We are very happy in 2 years' time, our full election is coming. A full term
2.5 years, and it's interesting because in 2 years we have a provincial election.
Provincial election is coming,
and then in 2.5 years we have our municipal election.
And even we are very, very not sure federal may take place because federal things are not that good federally.
Well, that could happen anytime. It's whether they dissolve and they go to the polls themselves, or the government is, say, defeated over a money bill, that could determine when they go to the polls.
It is going. Yesterday, even our national television news stated indirectly that this may be the last summit of G7 for our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. In the news, it was very eye-opening for everybody.
Yeah.
We're in very interesting times, not just here in the city of Mississauga, but quite frankly, provincially and federally. We've got an interesting time, and also just in the world right now. If you look at the south of the border, they're seeing things that, again, are pretty unprecedented there as well.
Yeah.
Because even they are having, US is also going to have the elections.
Yes.
Also. So it is going to be North American will be very interesting territory.
It will, because I believe they go in the fall, and this is going to be an interesting time.
Very interesting.
So there's a lot of unknowns out there right now, but if you enjoy politics, this is probably a really good time to be looking at politics.
We also elected a councillor for Ward 5.
Correct, Natalie Hart.
So she came out of the blue, believe me.
So Natalie,
people never knew her, Natalie.
Yeah, I will tell you a little bit about Natalie, and if Natalie is watching, congratulations. I had an opportunity to talk to her the past few days, and wishing her well. So some might be aware of Natalie, some might not. She actually ran against me when I first ran for council.
Really?
Yes, in Ward 1, and that was 2018. And then after that, she ended up becoming the executive director of the Malton BIA.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where she got her, her kind of, I guess, name out there a little bit more.
And then she entered again to try for a councillorship.
Yes.
We would soon invite her for our show, and we will use your good offices as you know her well.
Sure.
Because I was expecting that Danny will be winning. My predictions was for Danny. Because how I know Danny since a very long time.
Yeah.
He was associated with the office of Eve Adams,
Yes.
Member of Parliament, and that
Correct.
is also for 2 or 3 terms. You know, and even when she was a councillor, Danny was with her. So he has passed his life in Ward 5.
And then he was with Caroline
Parish
recently
in
as well.
the municipal.
Correct. Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
see how unpredictable things do happen.
Yeah, and that's, as I mentioned, if you enjoy politics, this is an interesting time to be watching.
It's in our blood. Politics is in our blood.
I think it is. I think it is. You know?
So, Mr. Dasko, I'm just presuming, okay, now this was a 4-way tight race. So do you think we have got 11 councillors and all councillors have got some affiliation here or there? I don't want to name anybody or the name of the affiliations.
Sure.
So is it possible to have a forward group in Mississauga Council?
Well,
What do you think? I want purely your opinion. If a forward group is there, they can really balance the council.
you're thinking with party politics wise?
Not party politics. Our forward group is there. That means a group who supports that 4 or 5 supports the resolutions.
Oh, I see, like a block,
forward
like a
group.
voting block.
Yeah,
Yes.
voting block.
We've seen that in the past in the city, and you know, I'm a firm believer in having proper votes on what your conscience is. Each councillor and the mayor, as Hazel would always say, should always do our homework. That's something that
She
I always
used to
do.
say homework, homework, and
Yeah.
homework.
And that's why she was so supportive of me, you know, because I did my homework. I took the time. I went through each
No,
and every
you
book.
ran a wonderful
And it's
campaign.
so important to do that, and it's always in style. So I'm hoping that people don't go and vote in terms of blocks or anything like that, because there are a lot of issues that have
Then it
impacts on a lot of
creates
people.
more issues, yeah.
Correct,
The
and
forward
this is
bloc
where
is
you
always
really
sort
have
of
to
an
do your
opposition group.
yes.
If you say in the real terms, but I put it in a very mild manner because this is a municipal council,
Yeah.
so we don't have politics.
Yeah, but I you know, part of me and what was you saw this in my mayoral campaign. It's always the way I conduct myself, election time or not. You always have to put out what you think are the best ideas
Definitely.
and give a rationale as to why you think that, and as to why, if something comes out, why you think it's not a good idea. This is what I believe we're there to do. And that type of politics I don't like. I think it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
And if you take your eye off who is the most important, and that's the residents of Mississauga, then we're not doing what we're supposed
You're
to.
not going to serve them
Correct. Yes.
properly because
Yeah.
that will be internal politics will happen.
Correct. Yeah.
Because for some time Brampton had a grouping was Brampton Council, but that has been neutralized now because Patrick Brown is a very, very good mayor and he was able to succeed that.
Yeah, and you know, I think when you're out there and you're trying to build a city and you're trying to do certain things that you set your goals to, that's what we need to be doing and helping people. If you take your eyes off the fact that you're there to help people and that you're there to build a great city, I don't know why you'd be there. So that's my philosophy.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Dasko, going along with the same thought that
Yeah.
you came with a very strong agenda of improving economy and creating new jobs, right? So, what do you think? Like, how did you miss you were not being selected as a mayor? Like, what went wrong?
And you start slipping 1 month prior to elections.
Well,
Polls.
you know, it's interesting because there was some a variety of different polls out there, and some of them were just
No, we were
outright-
following the main polls of
Yeah.
CP24.
yeah. Well, there was one out there, and they in particular, they were deliberately misleading on behalf of one campaign, and that was a little bit troublesome to a certain
Troublesome
degree. But
Because
the
that
other
changes
part is
the minds of the people. The polls only affects, to a certain
Sometimes.
extent.
well, the exercise too is you have name recognition in municipal politics plays a larger role. I actually I did a phenomenal job in Ward 1 and did an incredible feat into Ward 2 and some other areas.
Ward residents were praising you.
And then you get into some of the other areas where you're not known, because the way that Hazel had done things in the past and Bonnie had done was the mayor looks after the entire city and then the ward councillor just looks after their own ward, unless they have some other assistance from other people and this type of thing.
Mr. Dasko, the contestant who stood second, only depended on one point agenda. He assured his constituents or the voters that he will be freezing the property taxes for 2 years. Yeah. And that really hit, because you remember last time also when you came for your interview, I had asked specifically for seniors and veterans, but he wanted to adopt a line like what Brampton did during COVID.
Right. And unfortunately, what Brampton did was they basically bankrupted the city, because they depleted all of their reserves.
Their reserves have gone very low now. It came on in the news.
Unfortunately, you can do things like this, but I always look at the bigger picture of things, and that's part of being a leader. That's part of putting yourself out there. And if you're going to be a leader, if you want to be the mayor, you have to make some of the tough choices. But what you're talking about in some of this would be, okay, well, you decide to quit your job, you decide to start using all of your savings, and then in 5 years you want to buy a house. How's that going to work? And that to me just doesn't make good common sense. Like if you're looking at conservative model of how you're going to do things, and you're being conservative about your finances, this flies in the face of it. You can't build that way. What you need to do is be at or below, especially try to go for below the rate of inflation. Never compromise your services. But what you have to do as you're doing all of this is find other streams of revenue, not taxing people more, finding other streams. And part of that for me, and as you mentioned, when it comes to the economic agenda, is job creation. And that's bringing in world-class Fortune 500 companies. We have the airport here. We have Series 400 highways here. We have rail. We have an ethnic workforce.
LRTs under construction.
Absolutely. We've got everything right here. And we're a force to be reckoned with. We're the second largest economy in Ontario.
Correct. And
this is significant.
Sixth city of Canada.
Yeah, and this is something that's significant. And under the right stewardship, this is where you become that powerhouse, and you don't have to go back to the residential taxpayer time and time again with your hands out, because there's another way to do things, and it's not increasing people's taxes. It's finding out, okay, if you're a whatever Fortune 500 company you want to locate in Mississauga, you tell us that, we'll figure out how to get you here. And that's the type of approach that we need to have. It's just, let's just get it done.
True. Mr. Dasko, my question is continuing about the contestant number 2 who came second in the race. The strong rumors are there that he had hardly any experience of 2 years as a councillor. He was never a councillor before 22. No. This is his first term. Yeah. But the guy has an affiliation with a political party.
This is true.
Supported. Yeah. This is true. And at the same time, a very important member who just stepped down was very interested that he should become the mayor.
Those are some of the rumors out there.
Very strong rumors, not only very reliable and strong. We don't have anything in writing or the proof, but let me tell you that they are the facts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was not possible for him to be number 2 in this race with his credentials.
Well, I think you are the pundit here, so I am going to go. Who am I to question some of your knowledge?
We were investigating, we were reviewing the things and seeing who is following who and how.
Yes.
So this was the condition, and then I got the confirmation after the elections case. These are the true facts.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But
the next burning topic which we all are facing is affordable housing in Mississauga. Yeah. What are your plans? What do you suggest?
Well, it would have been a little bit of a different conversation had the results been different on Monday.
Yeah, correct.
But, look, what has to happen right now is we can keep approving development after development, and right now we have 80,000 units approved, and as of right, as they call it.
Under construction.
Well, no, not under construction.
Okay.
This is the
Just
problem.
approved.
So right now we approve. We don't build anything at the city. So we've approved
The
80,000
permits, you mean
units.
the permits were issued?
This is the other problem is, so once they're approved, there's nothing that says, this is under the Municipal Act. There's nothing that says that you have to pull a building permit within a specific period of time, or you have to put a shovel in the ground. Once it's approved, you can sit on it. I've got one in my own ward that's been sitting there for 32 years.
Oh, wow. Why?
Empty for 400 units. And it just went to Committee of Adjustment about a year and a half ago for 430 units. So they increased it by 30. Well, this is because there's nothing in place right now. That's why I really believe that we should all be working together collaboratively, not one against another, but collaboratively to make sure that we can figure out how to get those permits pulled, get shovels in the ground, streamline the process more at the city, open City Hall back up to the public and to those that want to come in and get things done, and have a stricter agenda on when you first come in with your drawings to the time that you leave. And it's on both parties, the city and on the developer, to make sure that they collaborate.
Elected mayor, who is being mayor-elect, in her concessional speech, she openly said that she's soon going to call the developers, form a panel, and discuss how we can go about building the affordable housing as fast as possible.
Well, this is the whole trick, is getting those shovels in the ground, because Ward 1, where the area that I represent right now in the southeast end of the city, we're actually building the most affordable housing out of the entire region right now. There's 150 units which will become open next year.
Wow.
And then there's another 150. We're waiting for that shovel to get plunged into the ground right now. And we just built 68 about 2.5 years ago.
Lovely.
And so that's a start, but we need to figure another mechanism to do it. I've got firm ideas on how to do it, and
Hey, keep up the good work, because
yeah.
you are sitting in the Council of Mississauga.
Yes.
And we look forward. You are our councillor for Ward 1.
I enjoy it. I love working hard on behalf of everybody. I love working to help people and to build what I think is going to be
the
a real
by-election
world-class
gave you a
city.
very good experience of 3 months. Believe me, that will help you in the next elections.
Well, it was interesting because actually my base vote actually rose. And so I was very privileged and honored by that, to see my numbers go up. It shows that people in my ward have that strong faith and belief.
People believe in you. That's what I also saw personally.
Yes.
I spoke to a few of them at your inaugural day of your office when I was there.
Sure.
And I had a chance to speaking to your ward residents.
Yes.
And they were all praising you. You're an honest, hardworking man.
Well, thanks. And that's what I do. It's my life's mission to help people and to work hard on behalf of people and to build what I think is going to be a world-class city. And that's my focus, and it always will be.
Elections are not that old. It's just 3 days have passed.
Yes.
The by-elections. And still a lot of work is to be done.
Absolutely. The city for a while was not represented with the mayor. And I can't begin to tell you that
But we all
we need that
weekly
stewardship.
or monthly mayor rotation was there.
We had it every 2
Among
months.
the councillors, 2 months.
And it's always, and that's been in place since Hazel was our mayor, and she had that rotational system. But look, we have issues with car thefts, home break-ins, for example. We need somebody that's at the table. We have a funding formula for the city and for the region that needs to be fixed. You need to have somebody that's going to be that constant person that you see there, working along with council to make sure that we get some good changes done for the city. And so now we do have that. We do have a mayor that is going to be coming into place in a few weeks.
When is she being sworn in?
I believe it's about 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks' time,
Yeah.
because you will be going for a summer vacation also, recess also.
Then there is a bit of a summer recess, as they call it, but not much of a recess, especially for me. I happen to represent an area of the city that's the busiest in the summertime. And so it will keep me busy regardless, whether I'm in council or not. I'm always working for the people.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Go ahead.
Mr. Dasko, the next question, going on few questions back when Mr. Ashby talked about the high property taxes, right? Especially for veterans and for seniors.
Yeah.
How are you planning to tackle this issue?
Well, we are going to have an issue where there needs to be more services. Going after the property tax base is one issue, but just going after making life more affordable for seniors is the other.
Senior and veterans.
Because
veterans are also not in good shape.
Yeah, exactly. Because the problem that you can end up getting yourself into is almost like a reverse mortgage. You can defer property taxes, and
that you should immediately implement.
But they balloon up.
But not give a deadline and then the interest is charged and all that stuff.
But this is the issue: is that's what ends up happening because somebody has to pay.
Jointly agree. All the councillors jointly agree and make it as a law that deferral should be allowed because the times are really hard on the people.
The problem,
and people
there's a
cannot
problem
be
with
on
that.
time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there's a problem with that. And people can come up with ideas like this, and they pitch them at election time usually. The problem with that is municipalities cannot carry a deficit. So under the Municipal Act, we have to be break even. You cannot carry a deficit at the end of the year. So if you're deferring something, that means you're going to have a shortfall there somewhere. You have to plug that hole
But the reserves
somewhere.
are there. Mississauga have got sufficient reserves.
But
as
the
far
reserves,
as I know, during COVID also, provincial as well as federal funds were given to Mississauga. And a good lump sum was given to Mississauga.
Well, no, that's not exactly the case. I will tell you. So our reserves, which we ate into healthily to try to keep the city afloat, because the city had no revenue. And so from the airport to, from our transit operations, which are, that's a big beast in terms of what it consumes financially. And so when you have that, we cannot carry a deficit. You're eating into your reserves with no money to replace it. There's no revenue to replace it. This becomes a problem. Each one of those reserves that we have are earmarked for something. They're not, sometimes people have said, oh, they're these slush funds that the city has. They're not. What that is if you want to build a rec center in 5 years from now, there's money in a reserve earmarked for that. If you want to build a bridge in 2 years from now, there's money that's earmarked for that.
Yeah.
Correct. It's all part of planning. And so all of those reserves, they're essentially for something. When we have a municipal by-election, for example, the cost of that is taken out of a reserve because it was earmarked just in case something like that was to happen. So they tend to be earmarked. So if you push these things off, it accumulates. And so it accumulates for the person that's selling their home, whatever type of home that is. So that would come out of that at some point. So we have to be mindful and do our homework on it before we were to go and do something like that. To have a deferral mechanism that might not be out 100% of your taxes. It could be a percentage.
Case to case, if a person sends an appeal and apply for deferral, he should be given a liberal view.
But this is where we need to do our homework and say, okay, well, and what would that look like? Would that be 100% deferral? Would it be 50%? Would it be 75%? Would it be a third?
No,
These are
up to the end of the year, you have to clear your taxes.
But we've had that during COVID, and that became a problem for people because we were able to defer property taxes till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Then instead of it coming out in increments, it ballooned. And then people had this problem where they had to then go and take a bank loan to So,
COVID was a beast for all of us.
It was a beast.
It was a beast.
Yeah. I can't
and
say.
And still the beast has not gone completely.
It has not. That's also why, for example, for some of our patio programs, which, I brought in the patio program, right across the city, waived the fees on it. I renewed it. And I've now got it so it's there's no end date to the patio program. That'll go on right across the city.
That will help our businesses and small businesses.
It's a huge boost, but we have 2 more years of no fees, and then we'll introduce fees. But that's what we're going to work out with the industry itself. See, because of that, essentially what that does is during the summer months, it allows a restaurant to basically increase their square footage.
Basically, they earn also during the summer months.
Yeah, it increases their square footage during their
Definitely.
busiest time, and that gives them a big boost. I know, for example, there's one particular restaurant that they have a patio almost as large as the interior of their restaurant, and they have literally doubled their revenues, and they went from having 20 employees to 35 employees.
Wow. See,
You know,
that
and-
shows the improvements.
Yeah, and so those are significant, and it's great business for the city as well. It's good for people that are doing business that have been struggling, but also it's good business for the city.
Mr. Dasko, next week will be a little bit stormy for you all because from today, the residents of Mississauga have started receiving the tax bill
That's right.
from up to July, from
Yes.
July to December.
Yes.
And believe me, when I also opened, I frowned at myself. Okay,
Now you know why.
How am I going to pay? The rise is substantially high. So
Yeah.
it is going to really be, you all have to be ready to hear the lot of bickering and lot of press, medias and this and that from the people of
I
Mississauga.
completely understand, and that is exactly why, and I'll say that right into the camera.
See, I'm
I'll say
telling
that's
you,
exactly why I am the only one that ran for mayor, the only one, and only one of two councillors right across Peel Region that voted against the tax increase there.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you asked this question. So in the city of Mississauga, when you get your taxes, you just see that final number, but it's made up of two different municipalities, essentially. We've got the province, you've got the province, the way that they've set up our regional government. So we've got the city of Mississauga plus the region of Peel numbers. And what we ended up receiving was 2.2% was the increase on behalf of the city of Mississauga. When it came to the region, it was 4.6% was the increase there. And the issue that I had, and I have with this, is this was to be the last budget year of the region at the time, because we were going to be dissolved under the Hazel-McCallion Act. And at the time, we were losing employees because of the uncertainty. So they were trying to pay retention bonuses, for example, at the region. At the time they're doing that, they're now going out and they're saying, well, hang on a second here. We need to hire more people. So they're going to hire over 200 new people.
Wow.
Plus,
In this region of Peel.
and then there's software upgrades that they wanted to put in for. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a second. Being somebody that was in the software business, I know that it takes a while.
Takes a while
So
to
you go to
implement.
put it out to tender. Then once you get that contract done, then once you get the scope of work, then you get the work done. It's going to be well past the time that the region is going to be in existence. And so there was a lot of these different types of initiatives, plus and out of reserves, as you were talking about at the region, there's large reserves because we're talking almost 5 times the size of the budget. So I say, well, hang on a second. Why are we putting in for earmarking money for all of these different projects outside of Mississauga? I said, this is a time that we need to have a very fiscally conservative budget to go forward. Instead, what we got, that 4.6 increase was the largest single increase in Peel region history.
Yeah.
And I voted against it.
And the total
Because
is
it was
about
not,
7.8.
it was not good enough. It was not good enough.
The total comes to 7.8, the increase.
It's 6.8.
6.8,
Yeah,
okay.
6.8.
Because
It was
maybe
the
in a
actual
hurry, in
increase.
anger, I calculate.
No, but then but when you look at it after the MPAC assessment, that's basically what you're looking at. And so for me, I thought it was fiscally, it was not a good job that was being done. And we need, residents deserve better. And this is one of the other issues, as you were talking about why I was running for mayor, is because of this, to bring back fiscal accountability and to go through division by division and do a proper
is
audit.
very, very necessary now.
Have to. Because the easy thing is, we'll just throw money at it. Well, you know what? It's your money.
It's a taxpayer's money.
100%. And this is where, for me, I always look at it as I'm doing my household budget. And I'm thinking, well, can I afford this? And that's how I put it out, because there are so many seniors out there, and there's so many others that purchased expensive houses, because I think pretty much every house that you look at now is expensive.
Yep.
You can't just say that,
It's
before,
unaffordable.
yeah, before, $1 million would buy you a mansion. Now $1 million gets you a starter home.
Starter home, correct?
And so when you're looking at these types of numbers, plus your mortgage rates have gone from 2.5%
But I think
to
it will
6 to
come down.
7%.
It's unbelievable.
But the pain pain is out there now. The pain is out there now.
Correct.
And this is where I look at that in its broader context. But being fiscally responsible, some have said, "Oh, let's freeze it for 2 years." Well, you're going to do that, and as I mentioned earlier, you're going to raid your reserves. This doesn't make any sense because the cost of everything keeps going up.
Brampton had a very bad effect from something like 219 to they came to just 19 million or billion. I heard in the news. So it was a very, very drastic.
You're being a fiscal manager is sometimes you have to make some tough choices.
Good point.
I have a next question about the election which happened for the selection of the mayor, right? We were anticipating a lot of turnout, but the turnout was not the way it was anticipated. Have you analyzed what was the reason behind that?
I just started going through numbers, and we went from 21% to 25%. It was a small increase, but at the same time, the voter turnout was still quite low. And
it was a working day. Plus, people are not so much interested in by-elections. But due
that's
to mayor,
usually the case.
But due to mayor, the top post.
It was a different one. It was quite unique. It was a different one this time around. But when I look at voter turnout, it's challenging to look at that. I'm biased because I look at it and I say, well, I think this is our most important election. I firmly believe this was our most important election.
Most important election.
Because yes, absolutely. When you look at the election unto itself, this affects your day-to-day life. As soon as you walk out your front door, and what kind of services are you going to have? What kind of city are you going to have? What kind of waterfront are you going to have? What kind of city center are you going to have? What kind of services are you going to have? Are you going to have the snow cleared out front of your house? These are the types of things that you look at. Where you look at some other things, that are global affair related, say on CNN, you'll find probably more people are tuning in to see what's happening going on down south of the border than right in your own backyard. And not sure why that is, but I find this is the most important and most interesting because it affects everybody.
Mr. Dasko, you must be having your ongoing projects still underway.
Yeah.
So will you be concentrating on them now as soon as the council resumes after the recess?
Oh, I've never stopped. I've never stopped. No, I've never wavered in terms of my responsibility to my ward.
You keep on reviewing what is happening to those
Absolutely.
projects.
Yep. I was actually out earlier today on site checking out, I've got a new basketball court with a pickleball court being built, for example. Mm-hmm. I was out checking that out earlier today. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm a very hands-on person. I also go out and I'm out meeting people in the community each and every day as well. So for me, as Hazel would say, the day of your next election is the last day of your last election.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
There's another burning issue which all of us are facing, and Mississauga is not excluded from it. That is about the gun violence and the car theft.
That is very afraid. Car theft and gun violence. And lots of town hall meetings have already been arranged by some councillors as well.
There's been a few, but
not a much effect we see because people are scared even to buy cars.
And this was a point where when I was a kid, a lot of people I know, we didn't lock our doors.
Yeah. We used to keep open the whole day, the door, and the night we used to lock the door, front door. Whole day the door was open.
You leave it open, and now you would never think of it. This is something as well where now instead of that, you're looking out your front window to see if your car is still in your driveway before you go to bed, and when you wake up.
It's what you call phobia now.
Sure.
As soon as I get down in my house, I open my garage door.
Yeah, to see if it's still
my car is there or not.
And this shouldn't be the case. You should feel safe and secure in your own community that you're okay. And so that's why as a ward councillor, way before that there was a municipal election, and that's part of doing your work, is I worked out with the chief of police that we could purchase land for a new police division because we need it. We have 11 division and 12 division. We need a new police division.
New police division.
We cannot keep growing as a city and not have more resources
But we
in
need
place
more
for
manpower
our
in police. More manpower is required. We hardly
they need
see
the
a
resources,
police.
Yeah, they need the resources, and there's an expectation level that's growing now to have them out there. There are some new projects as well that I've also been working on with them very proactively to make sure that we do have that. One of them is called a community integrated response team. And you're going to say, what the heck is that? What it comes down to is seeing more police in our communities. Just seeing them in the community. Whether it's on a bicycle, it's on the car, it's standing there. You want to see that police officer presence. Not to say it's a police state, but you just want to know, oh, you know what?
You feel relief.
There's a police officer that's normally around my community. I think it sets a tone. Not only that, but we also have a renewed breadth of interest in Neighborhood Watch, which is a great service that gets offered. So that's another, I think, very positive. And then as well, we need a new courthouse in the city of Mississauga, and that's one of the things I campaigned on. But it's not just because I campaigned on it because it was a campaign on it. It's because I truly believe it. And this is where you can't be arresting people as a police. You put somebody in jail, well, then they're back out again because you can't process them properly, or there's not enough justices, etc.
The bail law should be also,
fair,
it should be revised. The bail law, they are very weak.
And that's the other, and that's where I'm looking forward to seeing our new mayor working with our federal government to get bail reform done. This is something that we should be banding together as mayors right across the country to say, look, this is what we need. We need those tools. And on top of that, to get those containers that are going out of the Port of Montreal screened. Only 3% are getting screened right now. And that to me is, it's just unfathomable.
We are living in a technologically advanced society, right? How come we are not using our technology in our favor to tackle
I ask the same question.
How come?
We need to look at these. Put it this way. We've got more people that have cameras out front of their homes than we've ever seen before, yet we have the most amount of home break-ins and car thefts that we've ever seen. And, and that footage is available. I know I hear this anecdotally from residents all the time. Somebody stole my car and I've got the footage. I provided it to the police. But, you also look at 2 weeks ago, the region had the largest arrest of car thefts to date. 26 people in one arrest, and 14 of them were out in a matter of hours. So this just doesn't make any sense.
So fast they took the bail.
Yep, it's a very fast system. It's a very fast system. You just have to. They just have to buy a bond that they won't be doing anything wrong afterwards, and they're out. It's as simple as that, and they have money.
Mr. Dasko, will you be continuing your fight to remove red tape? Red tape is really hurting lots of people, especially the residents of Mississauga at our Mississauga City Council.
Yeah. Well, red tape is
really hurting.
Some rules are in place for a reason, but there's other ones that really we need to streamline and make sure that that you're doing away with that, because if you want to come in to do things at the city, you shouldn't be walking out frustrated. You should be walking out satisfied. And that's part of. There's a lot of different rules in place from different levels of government that ended up. I think Hazel used to always say the federal government has all the money, the provincial government has all the policy, and the municipal government has all the problems. Because it all comes down.
No, she was a real down to earth lady.
And that's really
everybody remembers Hazel.
Yeah, but there's an opportunity, that you have to take a leadership stance, work together. And it's not one group blaming another group. It's you work together. You go arm in arm. You work together for the benefit of everybody. That's how you get great things done. That's how you build great cities. That's how you represent everybody to what I think is the best of our abilities.
Did the mayor-elect had a meeting with his colleagues, councillor colleagues, as of yet?
No, I saw her yesterday, and I saw her again today.
No, but there was no collective meeting of all 11 councillors.
No, you cannot do that under the Municipal Act because that would be considered a
breach.
Well, because now you've got quorum for a council meeting, and you're not allowed to do that. So you would always have to have less than what would be your majority of council to be able to meet. So I do know with her, as she's, I think, up to her eyeballs right now, I would imagine, because she's just finished running a campaign, and now she's getting ready to take on her office in the next 2 weeks. So I would imagine that she's trying to put all those pieces together. And part of that, I know that she wants to have a more active council. And so she's indicated that to me, and I look forward to chatting with her about that.
That's true. Go ahead.
Do you think the separation of Mississauga with region of Peel will again be brought up in the election? Or
I don't believe it will. I don't think it will for the next while. I think that really is.
That is practically a dead idea now.
It's not finished though, because what they're going to do is they are going to have planning go single tier. That's as of July 1st, and then so that's literally weeks away. We're also going to be having some changes when it comes to roads. That's one that I'm very excited about, because I think as a Mississauga taxpayer, it makes more sense for us. It's a fiscally conservative way to go, to make sure that we're just paying for our own roads. We're not pooling all of the roads together. That makes sense. And then as well, how do we do water, wastewater? There's opportunities there. Is it a utility? Is it just streamlining the process at the region? That is something that the minister is going to be telling us. That's what we're going to find out from the province. So they've indicated they want to make some changes, and then also waste collection. How we're going to do that? Again, that's going to be another complicated one. But they're supposed to let us know. See, this is. We give them our opinion. We give them data. So does, and when I say we, I mean that's collectively. That's Peel region, Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. All says this, but inevitably it's up to them. And when I say them, it's up to the province to decide, because we are subservient to them under the Municipal Act.
Councillor, will you let us know? Will this mayor-elect will be approachable by a normal, common resident of Mississauga?
I know I am.
You are, but
I'm always.
What do you think? Will this mayor be approachable, or again there will be a red tape of if and buts? Well,
you've got in Carolyn Parish, or mayoral-elect parish. She's been around politics for a long time, so it's for the residents to decide whether or not she's approachable.
We have seen all our moods, all kinds of moods we have observed.
Yeah, I know how I act and what I do.
So that's right.
I will speak for myself.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm just asking your views and opinions, because to meet your last ex-mayor also was very difficult for a normal public. But those who were affiliated to her used to just walk into her office. Others were not even given an appointment for months.
Yeah. Well, my style is always, if you want to talk to me, either call me, because I always give out my cell phone.
Same.
I think that's everybody knows.
Young councillors, they are very welcoming. Believe me. You just call them and they'll say, "Why don't you come over? We will sit and discuss."
Yeah. And I'm one that always gives out my cell phone number. I'll give it out right now.
Yeah, just give it out.
It's 416-414-4402. That's 416-414-4402. I've been giving it out ever since I was first elected.
For Councillor Ward 1.
Yep. Absolutely. I've been giving it out ever since I was first elected. I think it's the right thing to do.
We are running out of time with our interview.
The time flies by.
Time flies.
When you're having
we have
fun
talked
here.
so nicely. We wanted to talk and touch many more subjects. But God willing, you take over again, work hard, and maybe by end of year, we will again call you to have a review again. What is happening?
Anytime you want to have me, I'm always happy to talk about.
Where is Mississauga heading for?
Sure.
Okay. So would you like to give any final message to our viewers and to the people of Mississauga?
Well, sure. I'll just say a profound thank you very much. I had over 22,000 people vote for me. And I just wanted to say to each and every one, thank you very much for your trust and your faith that you placed in me. And yes, did we have the answers, the result that we wanted? We didn't. But, I will tell you, we have an incredible city. There's bright days, I believe, ahead of us if we're working all together for the right reason. And there's a great opportunity that we have right now. So my pledge as always is I am dedicated, I'm passionate, and I will always work on behalf of what I think is the right thing for the city. I'm a proud Ward 1 councillor of the city of Mississauga and at the Region of Peel, and I will always do my very, very best to represent my community and also with a lens on representing everybody as well.
Thank you. With that note from our guest speaker, Stephen Dasko, Councillor Ward 1, we would be signing off this week's Voice of Canada. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my co-host, Richa Sareen. We'll be back same times again with the show on Saturday. So keep watching our show, and we would like to say good night, goodbye. God bless Canada. God save the King. Thank you.
Thank you.